Hey guys, what's up? This is Frank from Altcoinbuzz. Something shocking has happened this week. Now, it's not the news about Bitcoin not even moving. That's pretty boring. However, JP Morgan, the largest US bank, the very largest one, reported that Bitcoin has considerable price upside in the long term. Now, while this news is awesome and incredible, this is not what this video is about. This video is not about how Bitcoin is more popular than sex, according to Michael Kapiklov here on Cointelegraph.com. This video is not about how the Bitcoin subreddit somehow managed to overtake the sex subreddit itself, not to mention deep into YouTube, now surmounting them by having 1.707 million subscribers. And this video is also not about this very recent news about the largest USD transfer ever of Bitcoin to have moved $1.1 billion in Bitcoin. Finally, some other super relevant news which this video is not going to delve into is how Bitcoin reached a record 75 greed level over the past month, signaling that it's probably not a bad time to sell, since when the market gets greedy, as you know, that's when you should be fearful. What today's video is about is, of course, Quant Network QNT. Quant Network is one of the two tokens which has risen dramatically in value over the last 7 days. And in fact, if you look at the last month, Quant Network has actually beaten Reserve Rights token, with a shocking growth rate of a QNT price of 7.7 going all the way to 17 for a shocking 120%. Now, if you don't think this is relevant, then you're not paying attention. Why is this relevant? Because most alts, look at all these big red numbers: Thorchain, Uniswap, Crypto.com, Blockstack, loads of red numbers over the past 7 days. In fact, most altcoins, as you can see all the way down this list, are in red over the past 7 days. And not only over the past 7 days, over the past month. So why has QNT absolutely exploded? And why should you be paying attention to QNT? Now, for those of you who are interested in investing in QNT, I'm going to give you some signs about why QNT might actually retrace over the coming days or weeks. In addition to some signs why QNT is actually acquiring massive growth in terms of its daily active addresses, in terms of the hodlers. Now, while this update was made yesterday on October 25th, I'm actually going to give you the updates from today, because these numbers have changed quite dramatically, and that very much alters the conclusion of this report. I personally think this project has absolutely massive potential. It's number 69 in the rankings, and you absolutely have to understand what Quant Network is about, because honestly, you hear people saying this could be a top 10 project all the time, but with Quant Network, this really could be a top 10 crypto project. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why. So first of all, when it comes to Quant Network, FYI, we are not sponsored, despite having covered them extensively over the past months. And you know why we cover them? Because we think they have great potential. So if you search for Quant Network news, we are all about Quant Network. We are the one publication which knows the most about Quant Network. There's been a whole range of positive news over the past month. Quant Network Labs collaborating with MIT Research Lab. This is only the beginning. Wait until you see who they are collaborating with now, according to a recent interview on Real Vision with the CEO. We, of course, also published a treasury model guide. I did an extensive analysis, a review of Quant Network. And just recently, of course, just today, actually, we published an article summarizing this interview on Real Vision. Now, the question is, what is Quant Network? If you had to explain Quant Network, well, in 3 words, it's connectivity, accessibility, and trust. They want to connect permissioned and non-permissioned blockchains. They want to make them highly accessible, not only to users, but also to institutions, to banks. They want to make everything accessible to everyone, basically, and they want you to be able to do it trustlessly. They want you to be able to trust the system that you are using and not have to go through a whole range of checks in order to make sure that you actually can trust the system that you are interacting with. If you want to learn more about it, here's a 31-minute video that you can check out in your leisure. However, the big news today is that Gilbert Verdian was on Real Vision. And in my opinion, this is what led to this massive rally, the news that he was going to be on here. Now, let me tell you why that is. As of 2018, Real Vision had 20,000 subscribers who paid $180 annually for their subscription. However, according to a post last year on Variety.com, that number has gone from 20,000 to 50,000 paid subscribers across its products. Why is Real Vision a big deal? Well, because it is not cheap. Look at these prices. You pay $599 per year in order to access the Plus section. The Pro is $875, even the most basic at $239 per year. So what this means is that people who have access to Real Vision are not amateur investors. These are serious investors, people who have a lot of money. So obviously, if you can get your video, if you can get your product, your cryptocurrency project, in this case, of course, Quant Network, in front of these hyper rich, high net worth individuals, this is a very big deal. And of course, it doesn't hurt that they have 383,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel. And note that this interview will be published later on the YouTube channel. As I understand, it takes a few weeks before they publish it after having made it available on realvision.com. And then, of course, it doesn't hurt that they have 153.6 thousand followers on Twitter. Now then, some very interesting things were revealed in this video. I watched the whole hour, so you don't have to do it. I'm going to give you guys the bullet points. First of all, the headline is that the US government is willing to participate in the Quant Network MIT ODAP. So as reported here by Deepika Garg, according to Gilbert, development of a standard and open digital asset protocol will push crypto in the mainstream. And impressively, this is very impressive if you ask me, the US government, Intel, cybersecurity firm Juniper, and many payments and telecom companies were all on a call, as I heard in the interview, and they have all expressed their interest in the new Quant Network protocol. So in the interview, Gilbert talks about how the real internet was never built to facilitate monetary transactions. And he goes on to say how this has been his sort of vision to create a monetary system on the internet which is accessible, available to everyone. Right now you have all these siloed systems, these walled financial gardens only available to institutions. And the way Gilbert sees it, blockchain can bridge the gap as for the first time users can trust a network that is inherently secure and immutable. Now, the way that Quant Network comes in here is that they say, although these blockchains are inherently secure and immutable, they do not have direct access to centralized financial institutions. So what Gilbert hopes to do with Quant Network is to connect these centralized institutions to these decentralized blockchains by connecting permission and permissionless blockchains together, and in this way offer value to everyone and anyone, as opposed to having all of these systems siloed off. Now, incredibly, almost 80% of the central banks are exploring the development of central bank digital currencies. However, it is evident that they might choose private blockchains. And this is where Quant Network's interoperability will play a crucial role. So you see, Quant Network is not just limited to the crypto space. They are playing a role. They are offering immense value. And of course, this is still just the very beginning. These CBDCs are all new. But imagine if they all connect through the Quant Network and have to use the QNT token in order to operate this network. Now, quick side note, these institutions are not required to buy QNT to use the Quant Network, but QNT does have to be used to use the Quant Network, meaning that Quant Network themselves will buy the QNT tokens when those centralized institutions give them the money, and that will mean that QNT is still required, still has to be purchased in order to operate the network. But here is the real killer line, guys. Basically, Quant's infrastructure will enable cross-border payments between central banks in CBDC. So while the world might be skeptical about crypto, about Bitcoin being a big deal, these central bank digital currencies, it's not an option, it's not questioned. It's definitely going to happen. It's going to be a little bit slow. It's going to take a while. According to Gilbert, he reckons that most of these systems will be largely in place within a year or two. And if Quant Network's infrastructure can be a part of this, this would be absolutely shockingly massive. We're not talking about the few $billion that Bitcoin is worth. We're talking about countless trillions of dollars which are flowing around the world. If Quant Network is part of this, if it's enabling this flow of money, this is just going to be absolutely ridiculous. So I took some quick notes of the interview. First of all, Gilbert Verdian has been around for a long time. He has a background in cybersecurity and he likes to push the bounds and limits. Fascinatingly, he actually saw the Bitcoin white paper weeks after it came out. He says that there are currently 57 countries working to improve these standards on interoperability, security, and smart contracts around the world. He goes on to talk about how e-commerce on the internet is only 10% of GDP, obviously highlighting the immense growth potential of e-commerce. And in terms of trust and security issues, he talked about how he was working for a major company which spent $290 million a year for cybersecurity. And even then there were cracks and threats. And that, of course, is the power of blockchain technology and why these major institutions want to use it. The problem is they can't use it because it's complicated, it has risks, and it's not easily accessible. That's exactly what Quant Network is trying to help with. Now, this next point he brings up is exactly why Quant Network is so important. Now, he talks about how dApps are very small and retail focused right now. They are finite in terms of what they can do. So listen to this clip from the man himself, Gilbert Verdian, about how Quant Network is going to solve this problem and expand these services and make them available for everyone.
But the important thing is, if you take an existing financial institution that has millions of users, billions of dollars and pounds doing transactions and assets, if you enable that to then work with blockchain, then you're opening up a new market from that customer's perspective to all the DLT users across all the different types of blockchains. But then on the DLT side, you're allowing retail users access to new products and new technology that only banks and financial institutions can offer safely and securely. So automatically you're opening up market access to more customers, more products, and more value.
Now, before we get on to a QNT price prediction and look at all the different factors which may be affecting the Quant Network price in the short to medium term, let's finish off with the final highlight of this interview where the interviewer asked him, what do you think will happen in the next 5 to 10 years? Gilbert started by saying how if you want to send $100,000 to the US from the UK, it's actually easier to put it in a bag and get on a plane because you get to New York in 5 hours. But if you were to do it online, it would actually take longer than that and be more complicated. In addition, he said some inspiring things, how we will have a transformation to decentralization, a distribution of the scope of the financial system, the globalization vision being realized, borders becoming less relevant, trade becoming frictionless, access to the rest of the world for the first time, and that the way you send money will be seamless on a global scale. And this is certainly very inspiring, and many of these things, if they are going to happen, Quant Network can be a part of that puzzle. In fact, if you think about the puzzle analogy, Quant Network is like the frame of the puzzle, and all these little bits, all these little pieces in the puzzle are connected through and within this frame of Quant Network. Okay, so before we get on to what I think is the most interesting thing about the Quant Network price, let's have a look at the basic chart. So we've been talking about this contracting pattern over here where we have a high, a low, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low, and now bam, we've smashed through this previous high. This is a very, very exciting time in terms of technical analysis, in terms of market structure. It basically means that we're sort of grinding within this zone, grinding, trying to make new highs, failing dramatically, smashing through previous lows over here like we did in August 2020, then high, higher low, and now higher high. This bull market over here has now essentially been confirmed, if you ask me, for QNT BTC on the long-term time frame. And as you can see, this green arrow marks the breakout of this contracting structure. That being said, if we do correct from here, the next zone of support is all the way down here at 81,571 sats. And this, of course, would mark a 24% drop in price. So what I'm saying is that if the price does start falling and we get some momentum, it's unlikely that we will find support until we have about a 23 to 25% retracement. And in terms of QNT USD, well, here you can see we're in this sort of structure whereby we have now tried to pierce through this diagonal resistance line tried to surpass the previous USD high and actually failed. So this is not a good initial sign, and there is some possibility that we will come closer towards this blue line. However, what I think is much more important is this article by insights.santiment.net. QNT clocks in a monster week, but can it reach price discovery? Well, right now it has not quite yet reached price discovery. Now, before we get onto this analysis, what's important is what he says here. The last time we covered QNT was ahead of the much anticipated launch of the Oveledger network. Unfortunately, this was a classic buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. And if you check out insights.santiment.net, you will see this article where they talked about the signs that QNT was about to dump. And one of these major signs was that the Oveledger network, which everyone was excited about, had finally launched. So the fact that I think this recent pump is probably largely due to this Real Vision interview, of course, along with a whole bunch of other bullish news over the past month, the fact that this is sort of the apex, the final thing which everyone is excited about. I went on the Telegram, I asked what they were excited about. This is what most people talked about. The fact that this has already happened suggests to me that we might be in this sort of peak event now where we've reached peak hype and things will only go down from here. That being said, if you are a QNT hodler, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. The fundamentals look very, very solid. As he says here, QNT's fundamentals have shown solid growth and a number of bullish markers over the past few weeks, very much in line with the rising market. Number one is the significant increase in the amount of daily active addresses. It has grown 227% in the past month, as you can see by these steep increasing gray lines over here. And he says that it peaked at 452 earlier this week. And just for context, out of 1,119 ERC20 coins on the Santiment database, only 41 have recorded more than 450 addresses in the past 24 hours, Quant Network QNT being one of them. So very impressive growth in the daily active addresses. In addition, there is a significant increase in the amount of new addresses interacting with the QNT network, which has grown by 368% since October 1st. As you can see by this spike in this blue line over here over the past several weeks. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. He says here that the amount of daily QNT deposits has largely plateaued since October 1st, suggesting a lack of sell-side pressure despite the plus 64.6% price growth. As we saw over the past month, it's actually been even higher than that. That's of course because this article was written before we started to reach previous all-time high. Now, what's really interesting about this is these deposits. As you can see, the deposits are marked by these purple bars over here, and they have been decreasing, which is what you want to see. You don't want to see people depositing QNT onto the exchanges. But look at this. Dino sent me a DM today on Telegram telling me that, bam, we've had a massive spike in the number of deposits. So what does this mean? This means that loads of people or whales have suddenly deposited massive amounts of QNT onto the exchanges. And obviously this very likely most of the time leads to them wanting to dump their QNT. And as you can see, this is the largest spike that has been recorded for many, many months, ever since 26th of April 2020. So if you're a trader, even if you're an investor, you might want to consider taking some profit at this level. Another warning sign is that the largest ever spike in the amount of QNT that has previously remained dormant for 2+ years has moved, as you can see by this enormous purple line over here. This means that there's a strong shift in the behavior of some long-term QNT holders. And as mentioned here by insights.santiment.net, on the whole, hodlers and veteran investors tend to execute trades based on extensive analysis or intimate market knowledge, which is why sudden changes in their behavior often coincide with shifts in market conditions and price volatility. Now, one final indicator which suggests that the QNT price might retrace over here is that the QNT's 30-day MVRV ratio, which tracks the average profit loss of addresses that acquired QNT in the past 30 days. In other words, how much profit are the people who bought QNT recently? How much profit are they in? Currently, it's at 29.2%. What does this mean? This means that these new QNT holders are on average up 29.2% on their investment. Now have a look at this box where we currently are approaching. Every last time that we approached this box, the price dumped. There was, of course, a black swan event here in March. That can largely be ignored. But every other time we had a pump here in this indicator, the price proceeded to dump quite dramatically over the coming weeks. So of course, no one can tell exactly what's going to happen here, but you can see that there is some notable resistance over here, the previous all-time high, diagonal resistance here, which we look like we're getting a false breakout from. And that's why I have personally actually sold my QNT, full disclosure. I bought around the sort of $6.8. I told you about that in a video a while ago, guys. I have personally sold mine because the way I see it, even if we do break through previous all-time high, I suspect there's a very good chance that we will correct back to sort of similar levels. And if we don't break through that previous all-time high and correct, then I will start purchasing it as we approach this blue line over here, and or as we start approaching this high liquidity zone between the 81,900 sat level and the 76,160 sat level. I'm very, very eager to get back into this market, but I am also a trader. I also look at the information. I try to be as unbiased as possible, and these warning signs for me, especially this record spike in daily active deposits and this record spike in age consumed for Quant Network, leads me to believe that we are likely to see a retracement sooner rather than later. That being said, I would just like to point out that QNT is definitely one of my long-term holds. You know, if I have to get back in at a higher price because we absolutely explode and smash through this previous all-time high, you know, we get to $30, all right, that's no big deal. At some point we will correct. No market goes up forever. I will purchase on a weekly retracement. Why? Because I think Quant Network has massive potential. As I mentioned in this 31-minute review, which I spent 3 days researching, I do think it has massive potential. And I think it's a coin which you should have on your list to watch out for. If you see a retracement, then I personally would buy. But of course, this is not financial advice. Another quick note is that in that video review that I made about Quant Network, I mentioned how they didn't have a team page on their website, and now they have first of all, the website looks much more professional, much smoother, much more welcoming, and now of course they also have their leadership team here with all the people on the team. So definitely a massive improvement, and I really like everything that I'm seeing out of Quant Network. Don't forget to follow us at altcoinbuzz.io. You can search for QNT in the search bar, or you can search for Quant Network, and you will see all of our recent articles. We are regularly updating you about Quant Network. If you want to learn more about Quant Network, you can also watch this video which Matty posted just yesterday talking about Quant Network major adoption. He talks about a lot of things here which I did not talk about in this video today. I strongly suggest you check that out. Alright guys, that's been it from me for today. Leave a comment down below. Do you own QNT? Are you a long-term hodler? Have you sold some QNT? Have you taken some profits? What do you think of the potential of QNT? Alright guys, and with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.